Whatever you wind up doing is exactly what you should be doing.
And I have not behaved one single day of my life. Not one day of my life have I behaved, and I am fine.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're gonna hurt some people.
Whose car are we gonna take?
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. I do want to take a moment, as we always do at the start of the Nikki Medoro show, to say a big thank you to our founding and exclusive sponsor, Steve Moskowitz. He is the guy to call if you need tax help. I've mentioned the story before. I've called Steve for, launching this show and all the tax implications of accepting money, which I'll get to in just a moment. But, having a conversation with Steve, very smart guy, by the way. We've learned about his background, extremely smart guy. But he speaks to you in a way that you understand. Like, I don't understand what this term means, Steve. And he explains it to me in a way that I understand. So I don't want you to think that, Steve's a guy, you have to be of a certain income level or status to talk to a tax attorney. You don't. He's there to help you. So give him a call, 888 tax deal, or you can find him online at moskowitzllp.com. That's moskowitzllp.com. Another thing I need you to do at the start of each and every show, of course, is to give my show that thumbs up button right below the video, right there, right below the screen. There's a thumbs up. Hit it just once. If you hit it twice, it goes away. Hit it once, a thumbs up. Like the show, each and every one, because YouTube loves that. They love the love. And when they love the love, they give us love, and then other people find the show, and we can keep doing this Monday through Friday, which is the goal. The goal is I want to continue to put on the show just as I did at Station X. I know that's Mark's goal. That's Kim's goal. That's fabulous producer John Daly's goal and Tony's goal. I mean, all of us are working so hard because we want to keep doing this and interacting in this way. And we want to grow the show. But we need money in our pocket. It's our job now, and we're kind of self-employed in this way. And so any sort of help that you can give, and if you don't have any dollars, that thumbs up can do it. But if you do have a couple of bucks, please go to my website. It's thenikkimedoroshow.com, and there's a link to my Patreon. And you can donate any amount. Somebody was really confused and thought they needed to donate the total Patreon amount. No. You can donate any amount. And I've had some people donate one amount, and then last month, and they've upped it. They've enjoyed what they have heard. They realize, hey, I do want to continue having Nikki kind of have this conversation. And I know it's different. And I know it's not exactly the same. And I know it's not turning on the radio, but it's just going online. And we do that every single day, don't we? So I know it's a lot of, before the show kind of begging, for lack of a better word, but we really need it because, we need to survive. And so if you could donate any amount to our Patreon, you can find it at thenikkimedoroshow.com. And I share the money with Kim McAllister, and we all do it all together. And it's a great time. And I really enjoy doing it. And I want to continue to do so. Coming up this hour, I will be speaking with David Mamaril Horowitz. He's a writer with Mission Local. He'll be joining me in a few minutes. And I don't know if you have one of these areas where you live, but you ever drive by like an empty lot, right? And it always has like a sign, coming soon. Maybe it's a gas station. Maybe it's a parking lot. Maybe it's a store. Year after year after year, it's still nothing. It's a house for weeds and maybe vagrants and broken glass. Well, there's a spot in the Mission where people are fed up and they're taking matters into their own hands literally and transforming an area. And it's bringing out strong emotions and opinions from both sides, if not triple sides. And so we'll have that conversation. And it reminded me of a story that I saw this last month or in September. Yeah, it was the beginning of September, so a little more than a month ago. And it was in my hometown where I live, San Jose. And apparently there's a group of people who live in Alviso who are working without a permit to improve a small plot of land that right now is just dried grass and weeds. So I've read NBC Bay Area has covered it. San Jose Spotlight has covered it. The San Jose Spotlight reporter talked to this guy, Mark Espinoza, and his son, Marcos. And apparently they brought in heavy equipment to remove dirt. They've leveled out a strip of land along Grand Boulevard between Wilson Way and Trinity Park Drive. So apparently this is about a little more than a 3-acre parcel that the city received from a developer back in 2000. It's 2022. So the city has had this land since the year 2000. And so they received it to satisfy the city parkland requirements when it built about 60 homes across the street. So that means they built all these homes and they made a promise. Yes, 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 we're going to build a park. This was back in 2000, people. And it's nothing now. And so people are fed up. And I would be too, looking at this empty plot of land. Well, this was last month. A city code enforcement officer visited the site after receiving a complaint. They questioned the group. They didn't cite them. Said because the parcel is city land, San Jose Parks and Rec would need to take the lead on any sort of citation or warning letter. And Espinoza, the guy that's been bringing in the heavy equipment, says, I don't think it's a problem. I challenge the city to come down here and do some kind of penalty or threat or arrest because I won't stop. Now, a city park spokesman says San Jose understands. Like, we understand. You're tired of looking at the dirt since we've had this land since the year 2000. But they said the work being done is unauthorized. It's considered trespassing, and it can pose safety risks. And I get that. Because look, what can happen? So you have a backhoe, you're moving some dirt, someone gets their foot stuck, someone's hurt, God forbid somebody is killed, then whose fault is it? I mean, unfortunately, we live in a very litigious society. Also, we want to keep people safe. So I understand that. But at the same time, how hard is it to work with the people that want to literally use their blood, sweat, and tears to improve this area? Let's see. They say since this is knowingly unauthorized work that's from the city, continued work will result in further enforcement. Our next steps are to issue a warning to the residents involved. They've reached out to their council member, but they've been waiting decades for this to happen. So what do you think? I mean, on one hand, it's really awesome to see a community come together like this, right? I mean, it's not as if they are, spray painting everything. They're planting. They want it to look beautiful, right? That's what they want to do. And they're willing to put their own time and money. I imagine getting the equipment out there costs money. It's something that needs to be done. And so I wish the city would work with them. Now, what's happening in the mission is kind of similar. So when was this? This was like last weekend or the weekend before. There are about a dozen people that put out raised beds, for vegetables and plants, fresh soil. This is at Parcel 36. Now, if you don't know what Parcel 36 is, it's in San Francisco. It's a railroad right-of-way that cuts diagonally from Harrison and 22nd Streets to 23rd Street and Treat Avenue. Basically, it's a little more than 23,000 square feet of space, and there's no title holder. Okay, so it's not as like the San Jose story I was telling you about. They don't know who holds the title to this property. And so it's been chained off and fenced off for years. And so people have been using it for what? For parking. And now, on one hand, if you need it for parking and you live in this area, okay. But if that's not what it's supposed to be for, what would you rather have? Would you rather have another parking lot? Or would you rather have some nice plants? I mean, when you live in a community, you need to ask yourself, what do I want my community to look like? And if you have community members, and like I mentioned, it was about a dozen people out there, literally, putting their own hands in the dirt. Should that mean something? Or, should this not be allowed? Well, joining me right now is a writer for Mission Local. David Mamaril Horowitz, who wrote this article about what's called guerrilla gardening. David, thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Thanks for inviting me. Super
Okay.
nervous.
Oh, don't be nervous. It's a casual conversation, and I love this story. So, a little bit of background. My mother loves gardening. So when I see stories like this, I'm like, I could see my mom doing something like this. There's a plot of land, nobody's using it. Why not put something beautiful there? So I had, before I brought you on, I was describing this parcel 36, which is located in the Mission. Kind of describe it a little bit more. Who lives in this area, and what does this parcel look like?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So, you can imagine it, there's this like between 22nd and 23rd, and then you have Harrison and Treat. And it's like there's a diagonal right of way that goes just diagonally across it. And there are fences on each side diagonally. So from 22nd and Harrison to 23rd and Treat. And it's mostly used for parking. Like most of the people who park there, I think, are parents and teachers of the preschool who live by 23rd and Treat. And then you have a few parking spaces, I believe, used by tenants of a condominium that is along Treat Avenue.
But it's not a real parking lot, right? I mean, there's no parking enforcement. There's no parking lines. People are just using it for that.
Yeah, there's no actual enforcement. There might be, I don't know, maybe someone drew lines. I don't recall offhand.
But it's not an official parking lot. It's not as if it's just an empty parcel.
It pretty much is. And on, like I said, right next to it is like the preschool on the Treat and 23rd side, along with the condominium side, along with the condominium, and these two, I guess, neighbors are by the 23rd and Treat's corner, which is where the garden is, or where I guess the garden beds were placed in. So on Saturday, I don't know how much you said, but on Saturday, I believe October 22nd, the Mission Greenway group, which is basically a group of neighbors in the area in the Mission, they tried entering through that corner, the 23rd and Treat corner, but because normally that side's like that corner, that fence is open pretty often, I heard, like because people in the preschool need go enter through there and things like that. But it was closed that day and there was a car in front of it. So instead what happened was they went on the other side, the other corner on 22nd and Harrison, and there was a lock on there. So what they did was they and one of the news outlets, I think a couple news outlets got this wrong, but they didn't chop through the fence, but they chopped through I think a chain on the lock and put their own lock on the other lock. So it created a daisy chain lock, which basically allowed them access, but also allowed the previous lock holders also to access it. As long as one person has one key to the lock, they could open. It's not like they were like, "Hey, we're going to lock you out." It's like the same people as before had access to that.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm getting too much in details. But.
No, because you're painting a picture for us that I think people need to understand, which of course comes down to this lot that one group wants to beautify, I would say, or at least part of this area. And the other part is like, wait a minute, I need this for parking because my kids go to school here, I work here. So I guess which side, just from your early reporting and talking to people, seems to be winning this argument?
Winning?
Or persuading the other side. I mean, because I can imagine if I have to take my kids to school, David, and I have two young ones, I know how much of a headache parking can be, let alone parking in San Francisco, right? So if you find a park or an area in which you could do it easy, amazing. On the other hand, is there any room to do both? Or does it have to be one or the other?
It's kind of interesting. How do I say this? I heard from, I interviewed Max, who was a condominium resident.
Right.
And seemed to kind of be speaking for the other residents in the condominium. And what he said, one of the things he said was, well, if you're going to have a park here or some sort of public garden, you should ban cars altogether. Because I would not feel safe if my kid was in this area and there are cars going in and out, right next to it. I mean, So, I mean, there might be a way to make it work, but also that was, I guess, a
A concern.
consideration.
Well, let's stop right there because what do the gardeners, what do they want it to look like? I mean, what did they imagine their area looking like?
Um, from what I gathered, like the vision for like long term would be, and I can't speak for them,
Of
but
course.
if you look just right across Street, there's Parque Niños Unidos, and so I think something maybe not quite like that, but um, yeah, no, definitely not like that. Sorry, but just
Like,
some sort of.
is it gonna be plants? Is it gonna be vegetables? Are there gonna be people tending to it all the time? I mean, is this going to be a place where people are on the gardening group in and out all the time, having kids, teaching classes? Or is it just we want it to be pretty, and once it's pretty, we might come once a week, every other week to kind of maintain it?
I don't think that they've thought that far ahead as
Okay.
to, from my perspective, as to like what they want precisely to look like. I know that they want a public garden there, and that's what they envision.
Okay.
As for what they'll grow, I think that's still like in the works.
Mm.
Another thing that I think is kind of interesting, I don't know if you pointed it out, is that you know, I guess one thing that the two groups seem kind of hung up on, or the two groups being, well, it's really three groups, the three groups. So there's Mission Greenway, there are the preschool stakeholders, and then there are the condominium tenants. Um, the Mission Greenway is basically told me that one of the key issues seems to be parking. These groups want to use the area for parking, but what I heard from the groups, the way that the groups are framing this, the groups being the condominium tenants and the preschool stakeholders, is that this is an issue of security.
Mm.
Um, so, I mean, people can, I guess, use their judgment to decide which is really the truth.
Is the city getting involved at all? I mean, is there any outside third party kind of getting involved in this debate?
I don't think so. Like I reached out to the supervisor's office, and Hillary Ronan didn't get back to me. Session Recorder got back to me after the story was published, but I don't think that they were planning to take any other steps here. I think that they talked about the parcel being divided into three different parcels, but it gets kind of complicated, and I can't really.
Right.
I don't want to get into the nitty gritty because I'm gonna get something off.
Right. Yeah. No, I hear you because if you say it, then they're going to latch onto it and say, "See, that's what's been reported. It's my land." Okay. Well, before I let you go, David, is this a common thing? I mean, just in a city like San Francisco, I can imagine debates over parking and land are quite common. I mean, you're a reporter; you talk about it all the time. Do you think that this is going to be able to be resolved simply by talking it out? And I know I'm asking your opinion here, but does it seem like we're going to see any sort of movement soon, I guess?
Um, I'm not sure. The way that this all worked out, unfortunately, I would say, was it seemed like there was some miscommunication, some disconnects between the condominium tenants and the Mission Greenway group, where the Mission Greenway group, what I heard from Tree Rubenstein, one of the main people behind, one who's really passionate about this, was that like he had mentioned that they were planning to do this on Saturday, but in a meeting with the condominium tenants, but the condominium tenant that I spoke to said that he didn't. So it's like it's he said, she said. I don't
Yeah.
want to delve into that, but basically, I guess what I'm getting at is that it seemed like there was a violation of trust on for the tenant of the condominium that I spoke to, Max. Whereas Mission, and I spoke to Mission Greenway as well, and they were like, they didn't really. I guess to them it wasn't like that, but they both groups seemed open to talking going forward. It's just
Good.
I spoke to Mission Greenway. I was like, hey, would you? Or I spoke to Tree Rubenstein, Mission Greenway, and I was like, hey, could you see yourself like going forward with a mediator or something like that if there are all these disconnects? And he said,
Yeah.
yeah. He said, and I asked Max, and Max said he's open to communicating moving forward. No comment on the mediator thing, I think, but
Well,
so
good.
I don't know. I'm sorry. That's not really exact.
No, but that is an answer because I feel like that's, when we have issues like this, whether it's, what to do with an empty parcel of land or anything, it seems like sometimes people are working for the same thing. They're just coming at it from a totally different way. And so I hope let's stay in touch and we can have an update. I know it's a small piece of land, but it really impacts the community. So David Mamaril, Horowitz, Mission Local, I will put your article about this quote unquote guerrilla gardening that's been happening in a small part of the Mission on my social media feeds. I really appreciate your time, David. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me. Take care.
Of course. Thank you. Yeah. Guerrilla gardening, it's a catchphrase, but I think and the reason why I wanted to speak to David is it's a small story, but it's bringing the community together. Now, they're not both agreeing at this point, but when we talk about the disagreements in this country, there's big ones, there's politics, and then there's these small ones where we're looking at a shared space. And what do we do with that shared space? So I hope they can work it out. I hope there's a little garden there. Maybe they can have some designated parking. Maybe eventually they can get, a permit or something to block off some parking spaces with, little cement dividers so that it makes it safer for people that are at the garden. I don't know, but I want a good story to come out of disagreements, community disagreements, because we have enough of the negative ones. Did you see this? Now, I'm not a huge Luke Bryan fan. I don't listen to country music. I know he's on, what is it, The Voice? I think he's on The Voice. So anyways, he was holding a concert. It was actually a Hurricane Ian relief concert. And during the concert, at one point, he decided to bring out Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show this to you. And the thing is on one hand, I do believe he's raising money for a good cause, right? I mean, Hurricane Ian, devastating. I mean, we talked about it and we should still be talking about it in all honesty. Entire communities washed out. I mean, people, many of retirement age, they had retired. This was supposed to be their last home. They wanted that beachfront property. They'd always dreamed about it, right? And then all of a sudden, Hurricane Ian comes and they have nowhere to live. So here's Luke Bryan, and let me play this for you.
We're going to have some fun and we're going to raise some money tonight for the great state of Florida. All right? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, Governor Ron DeSantis.
So he's coming out to big applause, right? So here he's coming. Let me lower the volume a little bit. Feels like he's at a concert. I mean, I personally think DeSantis is a douche, but whatever. But again, Florida governor, Hurricane Ian happened in Florida. Now they high five, throwing hats. Now, I'm assuming they're campaign hats. I don't know actually the answer to that. And so Luke Bryan is being vilified for this. He is absolutely being criticized for bringing Ron DeSantis out for political reasons, is why he's getting the hate. So Luke Bryan responded. He said, Governor DeSantis is a very polarizing figure, but I grew up in a country where if a governor asks you if they can come and raise awareness to help victims of a natural disaster, you help. I've generally stayed out of politics throughout my career. I knew people would chatter about this, but for me, the more important piece was if I'm going to come back there a few weeks after a large portion of people have been affected by a natural disaster in a state where people have been good to me, this felt right. Raise awareness. Have a little fun between the governor and Florida college Georgia and Florida college fans before the game and do what I love on stage. This is all I am saying about this. I'll be outdoors with my boys. Enjoy your Sunday. Love y'all. Go Dogs. And then he has the text line to support Hurricane Ian disaster victims. And so I really feel like we should be able to really come together over things we can't agree on. I think that we can agree, or we should be able to agree, on the fact that a disaster happened and people need financial help. On the other hand, when we talk about musicians or directors of movies being caught up in a scandal. And it's the question of, can you separate the art from the artist? Can you still listen to Michael Jackson, even though there's all those rumors about Michael Jackson? Can you listen to R. Kelly, even though he totally was awful and a predator and raped young ladies? Can you do that with politicians? Can you separate the politician from the politics? Can Ron DeSantis go on a concert stage with Luke Bryan and not be Ron DeSantis, who flew migrants, to other states without any sort of warning and use them as political pawns? Who's running for governor of Florida, even though everyone knows damn well that the guy's not going to be governor. He's going to run for president. I mean, I hope he's still governor because I hope he doesn't win. But he's a liar. He's a Trumper, although he's trying to separate himself from Trump because, again, he's going to run for president. The whole COVID response, the nonsense regarding that, the divisions that he causes on his own. And I know we could say that about both sides. But I guess that's my question is, can a politician you can't stand still do good things? Now, that video did seem to show him throwing hats. And if they were Ron DeSantis for governor hats, that kind of sucks. But it does seem that people are taking a lot of issue because of the politics and not necessarily why he was there. So there was one response to Luke Bryan bringing DeSantis on stage. There's one tweet, BS. You could have raised money for hurricane victims by yourself. You did not need to bring a literal Nazi sympathizer on stage. You exposed yourself. If you have an honest bone in your body, own it. Minorities, LGBTQ, and legal immigrants see you. And that's to Luke Bryan. That's a good point. I mean, you don't think Luke Bryan can bring in hurricane dollars? And he did say in his response to critics, when the governor calls you. So Ron DeSantis is the one that reached out to Luke Bryan and said, hey, bring me on. I'll help you raise money for hurricane relief, or let's do it together. You don't think Ron DeSantis knew what he was doing? You know how good it would make him look to be on stage with Luke Bryan? And he gets to pass out hats, which I'm going to assume was DeSantis for governor hats. So then it kind of makes it yucky, right? Then it kind of makes it like, come on, man. It's hard though. I know, just being in this business for so many years, there are people you see either in the news or on a movie screen, and you form an opinion about them. Like, oh, if they were there, I'd say this to that, or this to them, or that to them. And then you see them and you're like, I was like, oh, not such a tough guy now, are you? Some people do, though. Some people say exactly what they mean. Oh, what were their names? Diamond and whatever. Remember the Trumpers, Diamond and I'm going to totally blow it. But Diamond and it wasn't Lace, was it? Diamond and Silk. That's what it was. Diamond and Silk. There were two black ladies who were big Trumpers. They were full of crap. And they knew it. I mean, you just look at them and you know they were full of crap. I think that Trump took them seriously. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, let's take this one to the House, right? We're just going to bank on this and ride his coattails till we make a ton of money. Nobody should have taken these women seriously. They were a joke. Absolute joke. But they were black. And Trump liked to throw them up on stage. And they you know what? I respect the hustle. All right. Even if you are spewing nonsense and lies on the stage. Well, they came into Station X. I'll never forget it. And I didn't say a word to them. And that was me saying what I felt. I mean, they sat there like we should have wanted to come up and shake their hands or something. And I was like, no freaking way in hell. And I think there was a coworker of mine that offered them something to drink, which I thought was nice. They weren't getting anything from me. And so, would I have cussed them out and said, oh, if I ever see them, maybe. Maybe you just shut your mouth, do your job. And if somebody wanted to bring them on their show, they can do it. But you don't have to support that. Could Luke Bryan have raised just as much money for hurricane relief without DeSantis on stage? Yeah. I think he probably could have raised as much as he wanted to. But the governor called. And he jumped at the chance to share a stage with the governor. And now he's going to have to live with the response from that. Then, of course, and we've been talking about the attack on House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul. And, we're learning more. The alleged attacker, that believes in conspiracies and election fraud and all that. Also, obviously, from many accounts, has mental issues, as you must continue to believe this nonsense, in my opinion. Congressman Eric Swalwell, of course, from California, He's frustrated with the GOP and the response to what happened. He called out Congress people Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert, two asshats that I just can't stand as well, for glorifying violence. He told CNN's Jim Acosta, "When I see my GOP colleagues fail to condemn the political violence that is out there, or like Greene and Boebert glorify it, it inspires others and gives a green light that it's okay to do this." And he's right. I mean, but I don't know how we come back from it. How do we stop the political discourse from leading and growing to a level where someone enters the home, the San Francisco home of the House Speaker, and threatens the husband and beats the husband with a hammer, fractures his skull? "Where's Nancy?" was allegedly said by the guy. Where's Nancy? Echoes of what happened or what we heard was said during January 6th. Where's Nancy? As if what? If you murder the House Speaker, things will get better? I mean, that always kind of sticks with me after January 6th is, we're storming the Capitol. It's a revolution, idiots. Really, I don't think thought it through of what they're doing. Their sore loser attitude, their belief in as much nonsense as they could swallow simply because they can't handle losing, or they can't admit to themselves that they were wrong. And I think that's also a real danger. And it's a skill I think we've lost. I might be wrong, or I might not be 100% right, but we double and triple and quadruple down on what we believe to be true. That to go backwards for some of these politicians would literally be political suicide. I mean, you hear, oh, well, you're not. Look at Liz Cheney. She spoke truth to power, and it was political suicide. She's no longer, and you can't find a more conservative member of Congress. But because she wouldn't believe in the conspiracy and drink the Trump Kool-Aid, she's out. That's what the base has done to politicians. They've either made them so scared of losing their job that either the politician retires, right? Thank you, Paul Ryan and others, or they fall in line, Kevin McCarthy. That's what ends up happening. Or third, which is even more frightening, they start electing these yahoos like Greene and Boebert to get in there. I mean, what is Marjorie Taylor Greene? I've said this before. What has she done that's any good? Besides being, an antagonizer. That's it. She's not on any committees. She can't do anything, really, for her constituents, and yet she'll get reelected. I mean, you just got to find a bunch of knuckleheads that aren't paying attention, I guess, to get reelected in some of these districts. And I know it sounds harsh and judgmental, but why are these people not asking themselves, what is she actually doing? Besides saying all those mean things that we say across the dinner table to our racist friends. I mean, just to put it bluntly, that's what I think these politicians have going for them. They say rude things that you used to laugh about in a bar and be like, oh, you're so bad. Don't say that. Now you have a politician saying it. And now it's okay. And hell, if the politician's going to say it, then why can't I say it? What was it? I think it was last weekend. Former President Obama, hit the campaign trail for President Biden. God, I miss him. I know. Politics showing. I totally admit it. I loved Obama. Now, he wasn't always popular. If you look at the polls, he wasn't. They lost control during his second term, as is common. But listening to him speak and listening to what he is saying, right? And then there were the fun moments. And that's the thing I also miss about politics. And maybe if you couldn't stand Obama, you just didn't think that these things were all that funny. But where was he? I forget where he was for this. I don't have it. Oh, he was in Michigan because he was campaigning for Whitmer. And, he's talking basically about, how old he's gotten and how many years he's been doing this and that sort of thing. I want to play it for you, and keep your eye on the woman in the back. I think it's going to be in the pink hat, and it's so funny. because again, I just miss these kinds of rallies where you can have a little fun, you know?
I have to admit that sometimes going out on the campaign trail feels a little harder than it's used to. Not just because I'm older and grayer.
You fine, you fine. That's what they said.
I don't know if y'all heard that. What? I'm sorry, what'd you say? Said I was still fine.
He is still a good looking man. I don't care what you say. He's still good looking.
I'm not going to tell Michelle you said that. Although Michelle does agree. She knows. But we're getting distracted.
See?
Squirrel.
So yeah, that's Obama. And I miss that kind of politics. I miss a politics where you weren't getting the crowd roaring because you were being hateful, because you were spewing, because you were calling people sons of bitches. You got the crowd roaring because you were inspiring them, because you were telling them the truth. And yeah, I know there's politics involved. Obama was talking about how the Republicans are going to try to take your Social Security, which they have said out loud. But there was never this appeal to the lowest common denominator, right? And I mean, and Hillary Clinton is the one that started it. She has to take credit, I guess, is for lack of a better word. The whole deplorables thing. She was right. But look how many Twitter handles or social media handles you see that say deplorable in it. They slap that sticker on themselves as if it's a point of pride, when really what they're saying is, I have let my political opinion become my personality, right? I've let my political party be a trait for me personally. And in some ways, I think it can be. It can. If every single conversation that people have with you sounds a certain way, has tinges of a racist, racist undertones, if everything, whether it's a stoplight that's not working or something else, is a Democrat or a Republican's fault, it has become part of your personality. And some people may not want to talk to you anymore about it. But I want my politician, if it's going to be part of my personality, to inspire me to be better, not inspire me to be worse. Not other people, right? Not make it a blue thing or a red thing or an elite coastal area, as if that's not America. As if celebrities aren't Americans. As if politicians themselves are not Americans. As if there shouldn't be a desire to work across the aisle. As long as that aisle is fair. As long as it's filled with hate and racism and going backwards. That's the problem. We're not trying to make people not be true to who they are. We're not trying to take away people's freedoms over their own bodies. I mean, I understand the religious aspect of something like abortion rights, but you cannot let that extend to your fellow American who may not believe like you do. May have a different background, a different situation that you don't understand. And there is no other way to feel about that, except that you're taking away somebody's basic freedoms over their own body. And so, just to kind of, not beat a dead horse about the whole thing, but with politics, we need to realize that there is politics that happens in Washington, D.C., then there's the politics of our community and the politics within ourselves. And who are we when we step out that front door into our community and then into the ballot box? And do those things line up? Because they should. They need to. All right, let's lighten things up just a bit. I'm not a big massage person. I don't know if I've mentioned this before. The last time I went for a massage was in May. And the only reason I remember is because my best friend, her boyfriend, got us, it was at Burke Williams, which is a nice fancy kind of massage facial place. It's awesome. And it was down near Santana Row. in Santa Clara. And we went. And I remember telling my friend, I'm like, I really don't like people rubbing on me that aren't my husband, right? I just, taking off your clothes and sitting there. And I don't know. It just makes me uncomfortable. I'm not really into it. When I was there, though, and I was getting rubbed, I get why people do it. I do. Once I got over the whole thing. Then there's what happened to this one woman. And I know it's a joke, usually among men, that, you get a nice massage and then there's that quote unquote happy ending. Okay. And, I'm not judging, not going to judge. I guess if you're paying for it and it's consensual, look, I know some people say you're exploiting these people or what have you. But anyways, this wasn't a woman that was having this encounter. So this woman put up, she's a TikToker. Her name is Maggie McGaw. Okay. Maggie McGaw went viral on Twitter because she decided to go get a massage and accidentally, and I'm going to say she accidentally did because she did. I don't know who. If you don't know what you're getting, you sure as heck don't want to do it this way. She accidentally booked a happy ending. All right. So here is Maggie McGaw talking about what happened. Okay, hold on. I haven't had it up yet. I had it. Okay, happy ending massage. Sorry, you guys are just looking at my silly face and I haven't shared it yet. There we go. Okay, here we go. Here is Maggie McGaw sharing her story.
Massage. Let's talk about it. First off, I booked it at 9 p.m. They answered the phone at 9 p.m., which should have been a red flag, but I continued. I pull up. It doesn't look great, but hey, whatever. So I walk in. There are no doors, only curtains.
So let me stop right there. Yeah. That wouldn't be happening for me. Curtains at a massage place. If it doesn't look clean, I'm sure as hell not letting you go and touch my body. I'm not going to let you do that. Let's go on.
Which I'm a little nervous about. I definitely got hidden video camera vibes. So I even looked around for cameras and proceeded with the massage, which again,
bad idea, right?
Now, if you've ever gotten a massage, they always tell you to get undressed to your comfort level. So I always leave my underwear on.
Same. I never take my underwear off. That's weird. Okay, go ahead.
Left my underwear on, laid down. She comes in and really quickly rips my underwear down to my knees. And
the lady walks in and rips her underwear down to her knees. The underwear would not have made it past the bottom of my ass before I was grabbing it back up. The minute she started touching my underwear, I would be like, what the hell are you doing? Not Maggie, apparently.
And I was like, what's happening?
I'd be yelling that, by the way. I would not be whispering what's happening.
Very uncomfortable. But to make matters worse, she folds back the sheet that's already very small. So I am completely exposed, booty up.
Booty up. So then she's on her stomach, right? Because she's going to get a back massage. So at least her hoonanny ain't showing, right? No. There are so many parts of this story, Maggie, that I would have stopped. But yeah, so now you're just laying there like a corpse on their stomach. Ugh.
I freeze in this instance. I'm not going to lie. I am absolutely confused. Like, I don't want to be rude if this is normal. She then sits on my thighs.
No. Okay. So your butt's in the air, butt naked. You no longer have your underwear on. You've allowed this woman, I'm assuming there has to be a stool to step up and start straddling your legs, sitting on your thighs. Maggie, what is wrong with you?
I reached down and pulled my underwear back up and I was like, no, thank you.
No, thank you. Oh, she's so much nicer than I am.
Just my shoulders, please. The poor woman was very confused as to why I was not into this. The massage was great once we established our boundaries.
What? You stayed? See, this is the best part of the whole story, is that no thank you. I love that she's polite. Pulls her underwear back up and then stays. Like, I mean, I guess maybe you didn't want to be rude and you're there and you took the appointment spot, but I would have been out of there so fast.
I will say that I did not know you could search the internet for a list of these places to avoid them, because I will say the happy ending for me was leaving, and the not so happy ending was realizing that they were on that website.
So there is a website where if you are like, I don't know if this is a up and up kind of massage place? Is this a massage place that gets a happy ending? Yeah. Apparently you can Google search it.
And that I had indeed booked myself a happy ending massage.
Yeah. I don't know about all that. Sorry, Maggie. You failed. That's a big fat fail. And again, I don't ever see a reality in which I would ever in a million freaking years ask for a happy ending. I typically, stereotypically, whatever, equate happy endings to men and prostitutes, right? Like, I want a happy ending and I'm going for a massage, and you're not. You're going to a prostitute, right? I could be wrong. I'm not in my wheelhouse here. I don't know anybody that does that. But how awkward. I mean, it just seems awkward, doesn't it? Like, I'm going to get a massage. Oh, and can you give me it doesn't seem like the best way to, well, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I guess what better way, right? To end a massage. You couldn't pay me to do it. How about that? But finally, there's this story if you're looking to make some money. This is in the New York Post. I discovered how to earn up to $180,000 per year by pooping. Now, I haven't shared this with listeners, and the reason why this show is recorded, and it is pre-recorded, is because I'm at the doctor's with one of my children, my daughter, who we're trying to figure something out with her gut. Okay, there's something wrong with her gut. We're a bit worried. We're trying to stay optimistic, but it's going on. Okay. And so, I may share more depending, I may not, but I've been really interested in stories about the gut for obvious reasons. Well, there's this TikToker by the name of, I don't know if her name's Lisa Fidelino, and she posted a video explaining that she donates her poop to science. According to the clip, if you want to donate, prospective donors simply go to humanmicrobes.org, humanmicrobes.org, and you could earn $500 per stool donation. So do the math. If you go once a day, that would be $180,000 a year getting paid to poop, which who loves that? I mean, that's why my husband likes to poop at work. I mean, you're on the clock and you're pooping. That's awesome, right? I can't do it. I just don't feel comfortable doing that at work, but I digress. The site explains, it's a major problem that the vast majority of people in modern society are in poor health and have damaged gut microbiome. To help maintain people's fecal librium, Human Microbes is trying to find people who are healthy enough to be high-quality stool donors and connect them with doctors, researchers, clinical trials, and individuals who need to rebalance their gut microbiome. So they harvest the poop and they use it for research. And it helps battle deadly gut infections. And again, as someone who has a child going through something, and again, we don't know exactly what it is, and we're staying optimistic, these things matter, right? It sounds gross, right? It sounds yucky. Like, who wants to talk about poop? But as someone who may have a child that's dealing with this, I'm interested. Okay, so if you're approved, let's get into the nitty gritty, as they say. If you're approved, the donor is ready. It's finally ready to poop for the day. So how do you process this? So you have to store it. You have to store it in a plastic bag, and then you ship it to Human Microbes or a recipient on dry ice. So, but now if you're like, okay, now I got to find dry ice. The costs are prepaid for per the site. So you're not even out of pocket. The poop merchants are kept completely anonymous. So no one's going to know that you're a poop donor. So people won't know. And apparently ever since this TikTok was posted, so many people have been trying to get in on the poop economy. One person said, finally get something out of my IBS. I'll be the first poop billionaire for $180,000 a year. Sign me up. Now, don't be, don't think that they'll just take anybody. Becoming a dung donator involves more than the ability to poop. According to Human Microbes, prospective poop donors must be in the tiny 0.1% of people who are still healthy enough to qualify as a high quality stool donor. You have to be in exceptional physical and mental health, which is really interesting. But I am also learning how much the gut and your mental state, your stress play a role. I mean, it makes sense, but when you're having issues, it really makes sense. Top athletes are best. So if there's an athlete in your house, maybe your kids, maybe your young kids, 20-something kids, I don't know. And under 30, although there's no minimum age requirement, the minimal antibiotic usage is also a must, so you don't upset the balance of the fecal system. That's interesting. So basically what they're saying is you can't take a lot of medication because, like with my daughter preparing for this day, she couldn't take anything but Tylenol. If she had a headache or she had anything, she couldn't take anything because they don't want it messing up the whole entire system. And so if you want to be a poop donor, you have to go to humanmicrobes.com. It's humanmicrobes.com. Oh, pardon me. Humanmicrobes.org. Humanmicrobes.org. And $500 per stool donation. I really appreciate everybody listening to the show. I know that this is a shortened show, and I do apologize for that. I hope you understand that things like this may come up, but we're going to try to avoid them as much as possible. But if you can donate to our show, we really appreciate that as well. Even if it's simply a thumbs up is all you can get. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate it. So if you're listening right now and you're looking at your screen, click that thumbs up. It's very, very simple. You just click the thumbs up and it does something in the AI algorithm world and it helps promote our show. But if you have a couple bucks or more than that to donate, you can go to our Patreon. You can find the link at the NikkiMedoroShow.com. The NikkiMedoroShow.com. And you can help us out there, right there. The website I put up on the screen. And it's a way for me to put some money into Kim's pocket, into my pocket. We're right at the beginning of all of this. You are at the ground level. Someday, hopefully not the too distant future, we'll look back on some of these early shows and see how far we've come. And, doing it with a skeleton crew of just me and Kim, it's fun. I'm learning so much and I really appreciate it. But any help you can give is very much appreciated. I do also want to give a shout out to our exclusive and founding sponsor, Steve Moskowitz. You see his number right there in his website. Steve Moskowitz is the guy to call for any of your tax needs. 888 tax deal. Or MoskowitzLLP.com. And I mentioned it earlier, if you need someone to explain, because sometimes taxes are complicated. I remember I was getting my taxes done and this lady was talking about this form and that form and this S Corp and L Corp. I don't even know what the hell she was talking about. And you feel like you should know these things. Like, I'm an adult. I should know how all of these things work. I should know that if I need to file an extension, that this is how I do it or when I do it. Or what do I qualify for the ERC? What are facts and circumstances? All of these things Steve will explain to you in a way you'll understand. He's not going to use words and terminology that you don't understand. And he's such a nice guy that even if he does say something and you're like, I didn't understand that either, just say it. Just like, what does that mean? And he'll explain it to you. He uses so many different analogies that will make sense. So again, if you have any sort of tax needs, give Steve Moskowitz a call, 888 tax deal, or find him online at MoskowitzLLP.com. That's MoskowitzLLP.com. A big thank you to my entire team, which is Kim and myself, and we are going to be back live tomorrow, so do not worry at all. And from myself and from all of you, I really do appreciate it. Take it away, Jacob.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You're proud, like a beautiful beautiful person. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.